Hello, and welcome to the Movie Mouth Film and TV Podcast, an inconsistently released podcast designed to help you figure out what's worth a watch in your cinema or with your multiple video streaming services of choice. On this very episode, we dial 911 as the Bayhem hits peak 1996 with Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul Matteen II in Michael Bay's best movie since Bad Boys 2. Yes, it's Ambulance. Following this, we sit down to unsuccessfully hide our sheer, unadulterated arousal as Alexander Skaarsgard runs around Iceland mostly naked, exacting vengeance in the name of fate in Robert Eggars The Northman. And if that's not enough, Phil has been going completely bonkers, talking very loudly and for no reason at all, shouting things most normal people would simply mutter. Yes, this week we watched not one, but two Nic Cage movies. Firstly, with the self-referential Nic Cage starring as Nic Cage in a buddy action comedy, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And in this week's Video Store Corner classic film discussion section, you voted for The House to win as you rolled the dice and came up with Nic Cage's Snake Eyes. On top of it all, we'll be discussing the latest film news, trailer reactions, and throwing in as much movie madness as you've come to expect from the Movie Mouth team. This is Miles, and as ever, I am joined by a man who once said, well, he's one of those fortunate people who, like my job, sir, got his first chemistry set when he was 7, blew his eyebrows off, and he never saw the can again. He's been into it ever since. His name is Roger, but 2 Rogers down don't make a right. And he loves the Elton John song Rocket Man. He stole 50 cars in one night. He's a little tired, a little wired, and he thinks he deserves a little appreciation. He was made for the sewer, baby, and he's the king. But if he doesn't like a movie, you just put it in the right file according to alphabetical order. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Just make sure once you're finished, you put the bunny back in the box because he is going to take your face off. It's Phil. Hi, Phil.
Hi there. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm all right. Are you, your voice all right after that?
It's fine. It's fine. I haven't even done the Al Pacino impression yet.
Oh, God. Oh, wait.
It's coming.
I know.
How have you been? What's been going on in Phil's world?
I've been fine, thanks. Yeah. All good. Busy. Same as usual. You know, Umal? Same as Umal.
Good old Umal.
Umal.
Our third co-host.
Same with you. Umal, have you been busy this week? Yeah?
Yes, this is
What's
you.
that I have? Oh, yeah, he said he's been busy as well.
Yeah.
Could you, Umal, could you get me, can you get me a beer, please?
All right, yes, I will. I'll bring it right in.
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming with it.
It's all got a little bit Moon Knight up in here right now.
It has, isn't it?
Split personality, Phil here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm all good. Lovely.
Well, I'm glad we got there in the end. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. I've been. I'm actually exhausted, is the truth. I'm pretty much the most tired I've been in a long time, and that's because of the constant physical labor that I've been undertaking on this school bus conversion.
You can't stay
project.
away from it, can you? You love it.
I can't stay away from it. Well, it's just the fact that we've been doing it all ourselves, so it's just it's a lot.
It's the fun.
It
make you appreciate it tenfold when it's finally finished.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just when there's someone with soft hands like me, and nimble bones.
How many splinters have you had?
I haven't had any because we have these Kevlar gloves that we wear.
What kills you?
There's not a lot of wood in a school bus, Phil. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but
yeah, there's a lot of metal. You can get metal splinters.
There is. All right,
See?
I'll let you off. There is a lot of that.
See?
I've been doing a lot of angle grinding, which is exciting because I'd never grinded an angle in my life. I've done a lot of grinding in my life. I'd never grinded an angle. Yeah.
You've never ground at an angle.
I've never ground at an angle. Well, no, I definitely have, actually. Back to movies.
Oh, dear.
What have you been watching since we last spoke?
I have, well, I can I've finished two things that we've already talked about in previous weeks, which was Snowpiercer season 3 on Netflix.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it mostly, but it should have been ended, and I don't think it is.
You mean they should have finished the whole show?
Yeah, they should have
Okay.
finished it,
Right.
because I don't know. I'm enjoying it, but it's just they're dragging it out. It's getting a bit of The Walking Dead going about it, and it's only been 3 seasons, so that's that. And then I've carried on with Moon Knight. In fact, I don't think I'm fully up to date with Moon Knight yet, but I think I'm 3 episodes into that. Enjoying that.
I think it's on the 4th episode at the time of recording, which is April 25th.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've got one more to watch.
Yeah.
And I've had it recorded, but I haven't had sort of time to sit down and watch it. But we've blasted it in a week. But we watched the final series of Peaky Blinders, the BBC series.
Oh, okay. Is it the last ever series? Because
it is the last
unbeknownst
ever
to many
series.
people, I haven't really watched it. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's season 6, last ever series. Really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's much of the same. Like, I don't know. Do you get it over there?
Yeah, it's
the
massive
States?
in the US.
Is it big over there?
It's pretty much when I meet people and I say I'm British, they'll be like, "Oh, I love Peaky Blinders, by the way." It's usually one of the.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's weird. It's not even like oh, I love Queen Elizabeth II. She's such a treasure. Blah blah blah. It's I love Peaky Blinders, and I'm like,
oh wow, that really is.
And I'm like, never seen it, mate. Never seen it.
I don't even know what you're on about. Yeah, I think it was quite a gap between season 5 and season 6, and then they show. I think it's been shown weekly up until I don't know, a few weeks ago. But I recorded all of it, and we sort of did it all in one. Well, not in one session, but this week we've watched. And yeah, really good end to the series and to the show as a whole. And Cillian Murphy is just incredibly good as an actor. He's just so good.
Is that Cillian Murphy's brother?
Oh, shut up! The pronunciation, man. Or is that pronunciation?
Scott Bakula and
it's Bakula,
directed
like
by Guillermo del Toro.
William Dafoe,
who we'll talk about later.
Brilliant.
Sorry, I just love it. I'm a big fan of.
But yeah, he's incredible in it. He is incredible in it. As normal, and all the performances in it are strong, to be honest with you. But yeah, well worth a watch. I think you'd like it. You should watch it all. It's great. It's all on iPlayer.
I know. I don't know why. I think I watched the first episode about 5 years ago, and it didn't grab me straight away. So I had other things to watch, and I don't know why. It just looks a little murky, and overcast. So I just never.
It's Birmingham, and it's the criminal underworld of Birmingham.
Exactly, and for that reason, I've kind of stayed away from it. But call me a snob, if you will. But I am.
Fair enough. What have you been watching?
I don't know if I want to tell you, really, to be honest. I'll start with the the stuff that you would expect. So Moon Knight, like you, have carried on watching that. I finished episode 4, which I thought was the best one so far. I absolutely loved it. It's brilliant. Just for those that have seen it, it obviously goes in a slightly new direction, that episode. And it's quite surprising. So I liked it, and I just thought it was directed so well put together. I thought, we talked about episode 1 with some really shoddy CGI work, but it seems to have improved, I would say, during the series, strangely. And episode 4 looks great. Great locations as well.
Cool.
I've also dipped into an Amazon Prime show. I've watched actually all 4 episodes so far of Outer Range, starring Josh Brolin, which sees 2 rival ranches in America's Wyoming discover what can only be described as a black hole on their land, and a fight kind of ensuing over who owns that land and what that black hole does. It reminds me a lot of, I'd say, Lost. It's got a kind of Lost vibe to it. In that, you kind of feel like this is going somewhere, but you're not entirely sure where.
Yeah.
and they may be kind of making it up as it goes along. It has some kind of really bizarre, outlandish moments in there that you just don't expect. But so far, it's kind of caught my attention, which is unusual. I'm not, I'm always a little disparaging of Amazon Prime series and shows, but this one I've really enjoyed. And rather embarrassingly, I made an oath, a proclamation, as it were, to my better half that I would sit down and watch Bridgerton on Netflix. So I've watched season 1 and season 2 of Bridgerton since I think I last spoke to you.
Well done.
Good Lord. Well done, sir.
Bloody hell.
Which, it's actually kind of, because we've been working so hard on the school bus, it's been quite nice to come home at night and just put something on that's just, completely brainless and you don't have to think about it too much. But I mean, saying that, that's actually really it's actually a really well put together show, great costumes and fairly well written and performed and fun, and just, you watch it and then it's over and it's done with. But I quite enjoyed Bridgerton, I have to say.
Yeah, I think Carly watched series 1 and then she started series 2 the other day. I think. I don't know if she's got bored of it or she's not watching it all. One thing I did notice about it while it was on, and I watched a little bit of it, was that it was incredibly crisp. Like it's really clear. Like it's because it's been filmed super recently, and obviously technology's getting even better. But one thing I really noticed was it was super crisp to look at and very colourful. It looked amazing.
Very colourful. Yeah, it looks fantastic. It does, and it is shot really well as well. A lot of the cinematography is great on it as well, and they do some really cool things in there, because obviously it's a period drama, but they do some really cool stuff in there, like using the vitamin string quartet, depending on which country you're in, doing their orchestral arrangement versions of popular songs. So each episode usually features something, and you're like, oh, I know this song. What is this? But it's like cellos and viola and violin.
Sort of like Westworld did with the piano.
To be fair, you're absolutely right. They've ripped that off completely.
Yeah.
But still, it was worth a watch. I actually didn't hate it. I thought I was going to hate it. So, and it slowly dragged me back in. And then movies wise, I finally got to sit down and watch one of last year's best animations. That was Netflix's Mitchells versus the Machines, which is a computer animated story about the robot apocalypse, basically, and how a family kind of deals with it. And I sat down to watch that. It's from the makers of the Lego Movie, so it's got that very dry. It's got that kind of fourth wall breaking, meta, acerbic wit. Really fun, really, really good movie. Really enjoyed it. Wish I'd watched it when it came out last year, but you can watch that on Netflix right now if you've got a Netflix account. Highly recommend Mitchell's versus the Machine, which was good fun. We've got some serious reviews to get into this week, some amazing reviews. So what I'm going to do is jump into the news, Phil, if you're good with that.
Do it.
I think there's only one place to start, isn't there?
Yeah.
Somebody's got a birthday. Somebody's got a birthday. Happy birthday, Al Pacino.
Happy birthday, Mr. Pacino.
83 today on the day of recording, which is April 25th, 2022. Unbelievable.
Wow. That's crazy.
What an innings, isn't it? You wouldn't have thought he was that old, would you?
No.
That's how he blows his candles out, by the way. He's got 83 candles, and they bring it out singing Happy Birthday, and he just goes, hoorah! And they all go. They've all gone.
They all go. He's like,
make a wish, Al. She got a great ass. So happy birthday, Al. Maybe a good time just to talk about some of your favorite Al Pacino films. Phil?
Yes.
You love a bit of Al, don't you?
I love a bit of Al.
You can call me Al.
I mean, for me, it's got to be, I think, like Heat and Donnie Brasco are up there for me. Obviously, a lot of people would say Scarface, and obviously he's brilliant in Scarface. But Heat and Donnie Brasco for me are two of my absolute favourites of his.
Oh, I love Heat. I feel like Heat is a film that we need to watch for Video Store Corner.
We really do. I've not seen it for a while either.
Michael Mann. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I fucking love that film. It's one of my favorite movies ever. But I'm not going to talk about Heat because I think we could talk about that till the cows come home. I will talk about movies that I've only seen a couple of times, but I will say his performance in them had an impact on me, and that is the Godfather movies. I know that sounds really cliche, but they're not by no stretch my favorite movies. Nowhere near, to be honest. I find them a little bit marauding, lumbering, slow. But Al Pacino's character arc in that, from the very first moment you see him at that wedding, when he's, he's not even the oldest son who's in line to inherit the Marlon Brando mafia don throne. He starts out as a soldier, in love. He just wants to live his life. He doesn't want to be part of the family, so to speak, but gets obviously quote unquote dragged back in. And you see his arc as he goes from that, to obviously gaining the throne of the head of the household by the end of that movie. And then in the second one, I was going to say spoiler alert, but these movies are like 40 years old, so I'm just going to go straight into it. Killing his own brother, having his own brother Fredo executed, just unbelievable. And then in the third movie, which, Godfather Part 3, a lot of people deride, and rightly so in some cases. I seem to remember a helicopter assassination scene at the beginning of that, which was kind of weird. But by the end of it, he's an old man in Sicily, and you see him just sitting there alone in his chair, and they've obviously dyed his hair and all that and made him look older. But I was really affected by it. I remember crying my bloody eyes out at that. Just that whole character arc. I think I watched them all three of them in one day or in a weekend once.
Yeah,
just phenomenal. And probably not the most quotable when it comes to who, what are you fucking hell? But in general, I just think his actual performance, his understated performance in that is his best. But yeah, give me Heat. Also Insomnia, Christopher Nolan. I really liked Insomnia.
Oh, that was good as well. I forgot about
Scandinavian movie. Yeah, I not a lot of people really see that. I don't think it's on Blu-ray at the moment. I think it's been kind of backlisted for a little while, so I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyway, getting back to the topic, Al Pacino, happy birthday, sir. 83 years old today, and filling us with sheer joy for most of your life. So we salute you.
Happy birthday, sir.
Happy birthday, Al. Phil, got any news for us?
I do. I've got a little golden nugget of news. Ooh. Would you like to hear it?
I do love golden nuggets, as you know. I love gold!
So this is the news that is on the heels of Paramount's success with the Sonic the Hedgehog films.
Mm-hmm.
The second one it's in cinemas at the moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I've not seen either of them, to be fair.
The first one's great.
Yeah, I've heard they're okay. I've heard they're pretty good. I'm not against them. So yeah, hot on that, the success of that. Sega, who is obviously the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, are bringing another classic game to the screen.
Go on.
And that will be side-scrolling beat-em-up Streets of Rage.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Is that Axel?
Yeah. Axel, that was one of the characters.
Every time you'd hit someone, you would be playing that game. It had one sound effect.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a revival of game. Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of films that are based on games.
Yeah.
Some shite and some a bit better and some really shite.
I mean, most of them are shite, to be fair. I would say most of them are. I mean, even, you talked about Sonic the Hedgehog. Even that, it's not set in the Sonic world. It's set in our world. So it's still not Sonic the Hedgehog. It's
still a bit weird.
It's still, it's close to the original Super Mario Brothers movie,
Which is amazing.
Which is the greatest movie of all time, as you know, having listened to the Video Store Corner section of that episode.
Yeah. And, because also on the game thing, you've got Tom Holland in Uncharted coming out soon. The very big new release that's very eagerly anticipated, based on a game as well.
Yeah. It's been and gone. It was slated.
What, Uncharted?
Yeah.
Well, it's been released already.
Yeah.
I just missed that completely. Has it really?
Yeah. You've been busy, Phil. You've been busy.
I've been under a fucking rock. That's where I've been.
You have. Yeah, it came and went. It was Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, and it mostly reviews-wise were on the not so great side,
Oh, right.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing me up to date.
I try. I can only watch so many movies, you know.
Wow. Yeah, me too. Which is none. Derek Kolstad. He is the guy who created John Wick, obviously immensely popular John Wick franchise.
Yeah, he
and
wrote them.
also, yeah, he wrote it, and he also wrote the Bob Odenkirk actioner Nobody, which I
Yes.
absolutely loved.
Came out a year ago this week. We watched it a year ago this weekend.
So he's done the script for this, for Streets of Rage.
I'm in. So
Yeah, me too.
I hope it's in the 80s though. If it's like in like a retro
bet it won't.
80s New York City, you know, punks, you know, with like pink hair and like yellow like leather jackets and stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, the same producer, DJ2 Entertainment, who did Sonic, producing this. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what it'll be like? It's Streets of Rage as a game. Who knows?
In other news, I tell you, this is quite interesting. So, you know, I'm a big fan of the director Joseph Kosinski, right? The guy that directed Tron Legacy and Oblivion.
I do know that, yeah.
So I don't know why. I just am. I just love his visual style. He has got not one but two films coming out this year. Of course, the previously mentioned Top Gun Maverick with Tom Cruise, which we know full well is coming out this year. Hopefully, it's slipped, I think, 2 years in a row now. But yeah, it's coming out in May this year.
Yep.
And now this Spiderhead, which is not a Spider-Man related spider movie. It is, in fact, Netflix's new prison-based drama, or sci-fi drama, I should say, starring Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller. This is basically about a state-of-the-art penitentiary run by a brilliant visionary called Steve Abnesti, played by Chris Hemsworth,
right?
Where inmates wear a surgically attached device that administers dosages of mind-altering drugs in exchange for commuted sentences. And there are no bars, no cells, or, you know, prison clothes. They're just regular people in the world. In Spiderhead, incarcerated volunteers are free to be themselves until they're not. So at times they're a better version of themselves. If they need a drug to lighten themselves up, or they need a drug to, you know, talk a little more, or whatever. So they boost all of these individuals to give them basically more senses. But when two subjects, Jeff, played by Miles Teller, and Lizzie, played by Journey Smollett, form a connection, their path to redemption takes a twistier turn as Abnesti's experiments start to push the limits of free will altogether. I mean, it sounds interesting. It's based on a short story written by George Saunders, but it is written by Deadpool's Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who have the ability to turn, you know, a decent phrase. So, directed by Joe Kosinski, starring Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller, and written by two, you know, very, very good script writers. So, haven't seen the trailer for that yet. It's just press shots, and there's no release date as yet. But keep your eyes peeled for a release date, and we'll be bringing you up to speed on that, no doubt, as and when we get the latest news on it.
Cool.
So, yes.
Did you say that was a series? It's a series, is it?
It's a movie.
Oh, it's a movie, right? Okay.
It's a movie. Yeah,
interesting. Wow.
I'm still waiting for him to do. Yeah, I know you like a good prison drama, don't you?
I do. Lock Up,
for example.
Escape Plan. I like that one too.
Well, I don't think Sylvester Stallone's in this one, sadly, Phil. Although you never know.
Well,
that might be the twistier part.
Yeah, maybe. But if he's not, I'm out. Definitely.
Speaking of Chris Hemsworth, jumping into the trailers, there's probably only one place to start. And that, of course, is the teaser trailer for Taika Waititi's Thor: Love and Thunder. Have you seen this?
I have not seen this yet. No.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks great. It starts with the strains of Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. And it shows a young Thor, so like a child, you know, version of Thor running, and then he kind of, you see him running, and then he's growing up into a teenage Thor, and then it's Chris Hemsworth, and it's all this really nice kind of edited shot. Which, by the way, incidentally, side note, his son plays the youngest Thor at the beginning when you see him, as a little kid running. But this looks really cool. So as we saw at the end of Avengers Endgame, you'll remember, Phil, you saw it very recently. And
did.
spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen Avengers Endgame. If you haven't seen it, then, really, you shouldn't be listening to this. You should be watching Avengers Endgame. Thor leaves Earth with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And in this, we see elements of the quote-unquote Asgardians of the galaxy hanging out. But it doesn't look like they're going to be around together too long. It kind of seems like there may be a goodbye in this. We see Thor looking fairly similar to Thanos in Avengers Endgame at the beginning, where he's kind of sat pondering, thinking. And this is, I think, about maybe Thor finding his purpose in a post-Thanos universe. So could be interesting from that perspective. We see some other shots of some other characters. There's not a huge amount given away in this trailer. I would say that this is actually a perfect example of how you do a teaser trailer, because it doesn't just lay out the synopsis of the entire movie to a point where you know exactly what's going to happen. Case in point, Ambulance, Michael Bay. The trailer gave absolutely everything away, and there were no real surprises in that. But this does show the setting really well. It shows the vibe of the film, the comedy elements. And also it looks amazing. It looks really colorful, and it looks like a comic book. It looks like a comic book. So it looks great. And just one last thing, at the very end, we then see Natalie Portman returning as Jane Foster. But here, she's playing a female version of the mighty Thor herself, with a somewhat broken-looking Mjolnir. So I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother.
No one wants a broken Mjolnir.
I will kill you, Mjolnir. I will come on to that. But it looks awesome. I'm so excited for it. It just looks great. So, hopefully another home run from Taika Waititi and Marvel with that. So go watch the teaser trailer for Thor Love and Thunder when you can. Phil, I understand you've seen a trailer this week.
I have.
Oh.
And this is featuring our I would say, I'm going to speak for you when I say this, but I'd say movie mouth favorite Gerard Butler.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. And, he's not known for making like the biggest budget sort of like brilliant films.
Do you know what he'd say to that? Do you know what he'd say to that if he heard you say that in person?
Well, he'd kick me in the chest down a well, wouldn't he? Like a big well.
That, he'd say,
slow motion.
Let's play a game of fuck off. You go first.
Then he'll kick me down a well.
And then he'd kick you down a well.
I'd love that. I mean, it'd be great.
Yeah, let's hope it was a big well.
So yes, this is Last Seen Alive, which was originally entitled.
You've got me at Jerry Butler
Sold.
and Last Seen Alive, the title. Done.
Brilliant.
I'm in.
This actually looks quite it's quite a serious one, this, I think. So it was originally entitled Chase, I believe, and it follows Butler's character, Will Spann, as he searches for his wife, who vanished without a trace while the two were at a gas station. So portrayed, his wife's portrayed by Jamie Alexander. So Lisa Spann is on the way to her parents' house amid the couple's pending divorce when she disappears. So they're having a bit of a bad time of it, and they're arguing quite a lot. And they sort of pull up at this gas station in the trailer, and she goes in to get something while he's filling up the car. And she disappears. And then it just looks like the rest of the film is a all-out Butler fest of him sort of shaking people and punching them and shooting at them and exploding.
Sounds like Breakdown, the Kurt Russell movie where his car breaks down at the side of the road or whatever, and his wife goes missing, and then he has to go find her.
I don't think I've seen that. But yeah, it looks like it could be pretty good. Like he doesn't play like a full on, he's not like an ex-cop or anything.
He's not an astronaut in this one.
No, he's not an astronaut or a rocket scientist or a Spartan. He's just
or the president's bodyguard.
No, I think he's just a guy, and he's got no formal weapons training. But he goes on a bit of a try and find the truth type mission, but obviously probably under a bit of suspicion from his wife's parents because they know that they're having a bit of a bad time. So who knows? But it looks like it could be really interesting. It's out on June the 3rd.
Okay, that does
So,
sound
yeah.
interesting. And we love a bit of Gerard Butler, don't we? We do love a bit
We
of
do.
Gerard Butler.
We do.
And I think even when he's playing, when he's being serious, I think he's still a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down for it. I'm just trying to see who the director is. Brian Goodman.
It's Brian Goodman. He's not done too much featured directing, but he's been an actor, like smaller parts in a lot of TV things. You might be able to.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like he's. It doesn't really seem like he's been in a great deal.
No,
Directed a great deal.
no.
His last
I think
film
it's
was
like
with Antonio Banderas and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. It's
Yeah.
called Black Butterfly. Okay, all right. Well, down for it. If it's got Jerry in it, I'm in.
Sold. Done.
And when did you say that one comes out?
June the 3rd.
Ooh,
So not too long.
Okay, I'm definitely going to watch the trailer for that.
Yeah.
All right. I think in terms of the podcast, should we jump into some reviews, Phil? What do you think?
Let's do it.
We've got quite a few. On we go then. Yes. Well, I think I'll get started off if that works for you.
You go for it.
Yeah, is that all right? Are you sure? You don't
Age before
mind?
beauty.
Shit
before shovel.
I've never heard that. Shit before shovel.
You've never heard that one before?
No. It's actually not. Speaking of funny sayings, I didn't know that Americans didn't know the term "get on like a house on fire."
Oh, really?
Never heard it. I said it in front of some friends the other day, and they were like, one of my friends actually from Texas, Pat, his name is, which is confusing because most people call me Pat. He's like, Pat. And I said, get on like a house on fire. And he was like, I gotta write that one down because we ain't got that down there in Texas. I sure do like it.
Please don't set fire to my house. Is that what he sounds like?
Yes. Pat, if you're listening, I apologize.
Sorry, Pat.
Terrible,
Pat, I do apologize.
Impression. And I do know he's a listener, so
okay.
Sorry
Pat,
about that.
Don't hate me, Pat.
All right. Speaking about Americans blowing things up, let's go to Michael Bay and Ambulance.
I like it there.
Yes, you do.
Michael Bay.
I spent a weekend at Michael Bay Resort and Casino.
Beautiful beach at Michael Bay. Got a wonderful bar. Sells the best whiskey.
It's warm all year round with all the explosions going off.
The trees and it's Bayhem. It is Bayhem.
Absolute Bayhem. Thank you for that. Yeah, this show has become an absolute shambles already, but it's right because in the same theme that Michael Bay movies are just unending, lengthy, bizarre rants on society, so has this podcast become. So Ambulance is what Michael Bay would class as his small movie. Michael Bay, of course, director of such screen gems as The Rock, Armageddon, Bad Boys 1 and 2, Pearl Harbor, etc. You'll know his films for the sheer deafening sound mix that he uses, the number of camera shots going up young women's bottoms and following them around rather inappropriately these days. And of course, lots of slow motion and whirling cameras to the extent that Hot Fuzz, the excellent Edgar Wright Simon Pegg film, obviously traded on a lot of those tropes. So Ambulance, it basically sees Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul Matteen playing a set of brothers in Los Angeles. One of them is the good brother, played by Yahya Abdul Matteen, and the other one is Danny, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who's the bad brother. He is a criminal, basically, a career criminal. He would be played by Nicolas Cage if this was in the mid to late 90s. And I think probably Will Smith would be playing Will Sharp, who is the good brother if this was in the 90s. This sees Will, the good brother, needing money to cover his wife's medical bills. He is a decorated army veteran. He teams up with his brother Danny, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, to steal $32 million from a Los Angeles bank. However, that's a lot of dough. When their getaway goes spectacularly wrong, the desperate thieves hijack an ambulance that's carrying a severely wounded cop and an EMT worker. Caught in a high-speed chase, the two siblings must figure out a way to outrun the law while keeping their hostages alive. Shout out as well to Aiza Gonzalez, who plays the EMT Cam. She's really, really great in this. Goes through a lot. She's got Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul Matteen, who I think are two of the best working actors in film and stage today, and manages to keep up with them. The plot of this is, basically a bank heist, which then turns into a chase movie. So it's very, very, very 90s. It's basically like taking Heat and colliding that with Speed, and maybe throwing in a little bit more Michael Mann, such as Collateral, which was obviously a 2000s movie, but with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise.
Brilliant.
Very, very similar in execution. The big difference being is that this is directed by Michael Bay, so it's not entirely coherent. There's a lot of cameras flying around for no apparent reason, and amazing drone shots. There's just 400 drone shots in this of drones flying up the side of buildings onto the roof and then out over LA for no reason, and it's just insane. I saw this in IMAX. It's also the loudest fucking movie I have ever seen in my life, to the point where my girlfriend stuffed ripped up pieces of napkin into her ears in order to mask the sound. It was so loud. It's dumb. It's a really dumb movie. It's so stupid and dumb, but because in the old 90s action movies, you had these incredible actors and talent that can actually carry off the dumbness. The dumbness is in the script and in the direction, but the way that the actors portray it in such an earnest fashion makes it really, really good. And I love, any kind of throwback to these kind of 90s action movies. And for me, I really enjoyed this. I'll maybe summarize, where this sits in the movies that we've watched this week, because there's some massive movies that we watched this week towards the end of our review section. But I would say for sure, this is Michael Bay's best movie since Bad Boys 2, which I know Bad Boys 2 isn't the best movie in the world, but after a lot of the other movies like The Island and I think the first Transformers movie actually is a masterpiece, so maybe more so the first Transformers movie, but the rest of them are really, really quite shockingly bad. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it, I have to say. I don't think it's for everybody. It is a really dumb, silly movie, but it's just perfect Friday, Saturday night, fare. Just absolutely. I came out of it and I felt like I had been in a traumatic event for a good 2 hours. It was like, I just want to sit down now and, smoke a cigarette and have a camera whirl around me, in 360 while I'm recounting what the hell just happened at sunset, standing on a dock somewhere. But yeah, and also quite encouraging when you see that it was on a budget of 40 million. So Michael Bay can do these quote unquote small movies. But still, it's worth a watch, and if it's still on in the theater and if you're that way inclined, I recommend, taking an afternoon to go watch it. If you're not that into your testosterone fueled action, car movies and all this kind of stuff, maybe give it a miss. But if you listen to the Movie Mouth podcast, I reckon you might quite like it. So I'm going to give it a recommend for Ambulance, available in cinemas and theaters where you are right now. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, I want to see that. It looks right on my
You're
street.
going to absolutely love it, Phil.
Yeah.
You're going to absolutely love it.
Would I like it as much as Godzilla vs. Kong?
I think you'll like it more.
No, impossible.
Only because I despise Godzilla vs. Kong.
I despise you prick.
What episode are we? Episode 40?
37. Oh, no, it's about 40 with the specials. Yeah.
So after 40 episodes, you're finally... Here comes the divorce, kids. Oh, no, not again. Flashback to when I was 7. Jesus. Back in therapy.
Off he goes. Shall we move on? Next review.
Yes. Why don't we move on to the Northman? Would you like to talk to the Northman?
I'm not going to try a An accent, a Slavic accent. But yes, this was quite eagerly anticipated. We both see this, didn't we? We both see it.
We did both see it. We saw the
I went to
trailer
the
first.
cinema.
We talked about the trailer, didn't we? First,
We talked about
and
the trailer
foaming at the
last
mouth,
year.
weren't we?
Yeah. And yeah, so this is directed by Robert Eggars, and I'll give you a little bit about the plot. So,
Yeah.
Prince Amleth is on the verge of becoming a man when his father is brutally murdered by his uncle, who kidnaps the boy's mother. Now, no spoilers there because that happens in the trailer. All of that happens in the trailer. You don't,
and it's in the IMDb synopsis.
Yes, it is. 2 decades later, Amleth is now a Viking who raids Slavic villages. He soon meets a seeress, is the word.
It is the word
that I've never read before in my life. Seeress, who reminds him of his vow.
Seen the seeress?
No, I've never seen seeress. Yes, she reminds him of his vow to save his mother, kill his uncle, and avenge his father. So what we get is, I would say, a pretty bloody spectacular film. It is very gritty. It's very violent. But I think it's also played with a real sense of, from Alexander Skaarsgard, who plays Amleth. I think he does a fantastic job in this. He plays a man that's got the weight of a task that needs doing on his shoulders, and you can tell, because he. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything about this, but as I said in the synopsis, he's, he grows up and we catch up with him later on, and he's at that point turned into this like badass berserker, basically.
Yeah.
Pillaging and, doing all the things that Vikings did. But all the while still plotting his revenge against his uncle. And yeah, it's just an absolutely great, great film. I think what I liked most about it is the mix, and something I potentially didn't expect is that it focuses on the mythology of the Norse culture, as well as like the reality of it.
Oh, do you know what? I love you. That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And I didn't expect. I didn't expect
Yeah.
it to go that way. I thought it was going to be a bit more of an all-out revenge sort of thing. But there's some great scenes in the talking about the mythology of things that we won't go into, but they're really well done.
Yeah, it goes to an almost Guillermo del Toro place in certain moments, but then cuts back to actually, and this is probably what really happened. And it's brilliantly done, isn't it? It's exactly what I'm so happy you picked up on that, because that's exactly what I took away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what another thing to say about this film is it looks absolutely stunning as well.
Yeah,
the way it's shot, it's got a lot of it's got some fantastic like panning camera shots in this, sort of during battle and things like that. That it could have been done with cuts, but it makes it feel more on the floor. You're sort of in the action with the panning sort of cameras and long takes. It's got quite a few like long takes as they're sort of going through, in the sort of more actiony parts.
Yeah.
Soundtrack was brilliant, like really good. Again, this was really loud actually in the cinema I watched it in. It was very loud, but I think for this film it needs to be, to sort of ram home points of sort of drama, and just also just really good good performances, because you've got Nicole Kidman playing Amleth's mother. You've got Ethan Hawke playing his father. Anya Taylor-Joy is in this as well. She's fantastic.
She was great. I thought Claes Bang, who was his uncle Fjolnir, I thought he was amazing in this.
He was really very good. Yeah. Fjolnir being his uncle's name.
Fjolnir. And of course Fjolnir. William Dafoe.
Willem. I think you'll find it's Willem.
No, it's definitely William. I've heard you say it 100 times.
But yeah, for me, this completely exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be, from the trailer, I thought it looked really cool. And I thought, well, this could be awesome, but it's probably going to turn into a really silly sort of Viking over the top film. Not at all. It's just really, really well done. And yeah, loved it. Massive recommend from me on this one.
I think I'm actually surprised, because I think the trailer told or maybe laid out a different movie to what this was. I think the trailer maybe was more Gladiator, and I think we got a much more art house, trippy, psychedelic movie. But I think that just added a lot more depth to it. I would say that I did enjoy this film, but I don't think it's the kind of thing I'd want to watch again. It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, okay, I've watched that now, because it's so gory and there's so much death and brutality in it. It's a really, really brutal film. There's a lot of heads being lopped off and fucking stabbings and guts being spilled out, and and
more
visually
than I thought. Than for a 15. It's a 15 certificate over here in the
Is
UK.
it really?
Yeah.
It's rated. It was rated R here.
Yeah.
For mature, but it was really, really quite gory.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of like dead bodies and things, and that doesn't usually get to me. But I think because this film is so gritty, and he's covered in mud for most of the film, and he looks freezing cold. He's half naked for most of it. It is a phenomenal. It's a phenomenal movie all around. It's phenomenal performances all around. It's brilliantly directed. The scene you talk about with the Vikings kind of taking the village and pillaging the village, right kind of towards the beginning when we first see him growing up. It's such an incredible sequence when he's jumping off the wall and grabbing a spear and throwing it back. It's so amazing that he actually then, you kind of think, well, that's the movie it could be, but then he kind of pares it down and tones it down into something a lot more intimate and less, big Viking story. And actually, it's very nuanced and very, very well done. And just visually, like you said, some amazing sequences. That there's a tree of kings, or a tree of succession, that you see, which is a Norse myth, where you see these kind of kings hanging on the branches, and as certain people perish, you'll see them added to this tree. It's just really beautiful, incredible movie. And as you said, amazing performances. I just don't know whether I'd ever watch it again. I just feel like it's something you have to see, and definitely worth seeing at the theatre. But is it something I want to watch again? Probably wouldn't for a long time, I would say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you sort of certainly got to strap having known what it's like now that I've seen it once. You'd have to strap yourself in and be very open to watching it again and going through the experience again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Really cool scene with Bjork as well in there. She's starring in there. She hasn't been in anything since Dancer in the Dark, which was like 2000 or something, whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, ages ago, yeah.
But she was there's a really cool scene with her in this. It'd be great to see her in more stuff. But yeah, definitely gets a recommend from me also. So go check out The Northman, which is available in theaters pretty much everywhere, I think, around the world as we speak. So Phil went to see it. I went to see it. We enjoyed it. Go watch it. Go check it out.
Do it.
Do it now. Come on, do it. The Northman.
Well, I hope you leave enough room for my fist, because I'm going to ram it in your stomach and break your goddamn spine.
Oh my God. There needs to be a recut of The Northman with Arnie quote while Skaarsgard's like doing stuff to people.
Just Arnie as Conan. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Need to see that.
Need to see it. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, let's move on to our third but not final Nicolas Cage movie of this week's Movie Mouth podcast. It is the long anticipated, the long awaited, the unbearable weight of massive talent. This is, as many of you will probably know, it's hard to kind of escape this movie right now. This is an action-packed comedy starring Nicolas Cage as Nic Cage, channeling his iconic characters as he's caught between a superfan played by the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal, and a CIA agent played by Tiffany Haddish. This is directed by Tom Gormican, who so far didn't really have a huge deal of kind of movies and things that he directed. I think his last movie he directed was a long time ago, The Awkward Moment, or That Awkward Moment, which was a Zac Efron movie, but hasn't really directed a heck of a lot since then. So it kind of came out of left field. This, we loved the trailer, didn't we? We absolutely
did.
Loved the trailer, in particular the second trailer, which I think was just put it into the cannot miss category for me.
Yeah.
So I went to see this one. This one's available in the theaters now. It basically has a really nice meta, Hollywood in-joke kind of vibe to it, because obviously, if you like, for example, Entourage TV series, which is, about actors making it in Hollywood, this has that kind of end of career type performance from Cage. Basically, he's caught between his family life and his estranged ex-wife and their daughter, and making the life better for them, or focusing on the next $1 million, movie that he's going to get a paycheck for. So he does riff on himself in this. He does, take the piss out of himself, which is great to see. He also clearly revels in playing himself. And he is basically relocated for $1 million, relocated to Mallorca to basically attend the birthday party of Pedro Pascal, who is allegedly the world's biggest Nicolas Cage fan. But there's also something else at play here, and it becomes not only a Hollywood bashing comedy, but also a kind of spy comedy, buddy cop kind of comedy as well, somewhere in there. And we see Nic Cage basically taking part in a subterfuge scheme to unearth the truth behind a kidnapping of a young girl in this film, which is great. If you're a Nic Cage fan, you're going to have a lot to enjoy here, because most of it is focused on his past performances. There are clips from The Rock. There are clips from so many of his movies, even the movies that I haven't even seen or at least heard of in this. There are quotes from all of them. Also, there is a scene where he's on a private plane and he sees The Rock on TV, and he kind of turns the TV off, which was pretty funny. In the most part, it's made with it's made very uncynically. It's a lot of fun in places. I would say probably the best thing about it is the chemistry between Nic Cage and Pedro Pascal. There is a amazing hallucinogenic fueled paranoid escape to a seaside town in Mallorca between Pedro Pascal and Nic Cage, which was a lot of fun. It was very, very funny, and probably most people laughing in the theater when we went to see it. However, it probably doesn't kind of explain it. It probably doesn't delve too deeply into the kind of wackiness of Nic Cage, because Nic Cage is a really crazy, bizarre human being. I mean, he is a very unusual person.
Yeah.
And this doesn't really make him seem like that. It kind of just makes him seem like this kind of beaten down, depressed, I was going to say middle-aged crisis, but certainly later stage career crisis person. It does have a lot of madcap moments. There is also an excellent kind of de-aged version of Nic Cage, an early 90s version of Nic Cage that he plays a lot of scenes against in this, which just looks amazing. It's a deep fake that they've used basically, but he looks like he's 30, 28 to 30 or whatever, and he's absolutely amazing. Those scenes were all great, but it didn't have me in stitches throughout the film. It didn't make me laugh that much. I felt like the writing of it maybe was a little flat in some places. There were a couple of points where I even, granted I'd probably had a big night the night before, but I even felt a little tired and my eyelids getting a little heavy at certain kind of dull points in the script.
Oh,
which I wasn't expecting. but it's definitely a film that's worth, you know, the 2 hours runtime. You know, if you love Nic Cage, you're going to want to see it. You know, I rushed out to the theater to see it. I would say I would probably just walk to the theater next time if I knew what this film was. But for the most part, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent gets a Movie Mouth podcast recommendation. And, you know, there are probably a lot of Nicolas Cage fans out there that have seen this that absolutely love this movie. I am a big Nicolas Cage fan. I didn't love it, but come at me, because I'm not sure it's exactly what we thought it was going to be from the trailers, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm still going to see it.
I think you have to. I'm surprised that you haven't seen it, to be honest, that you weren't there in line.
It's just a time thing. Like I watched The Northman, and they showed the trailer for this before The Northman. I was like, oh, why can't they just show the whole thing before?
It would be an interesting double bill. I think you'd want to see The Northman first. You'd see The Northman first, and then you'd watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it'd be a bit hard to do it the other way around.
Does Nic Cage quote, "Oh, not the bees, not the bees"? Yes, he does in this film. So it's got a lot of that, you know. It's got a lot of that.
I think I like the bit in the trailer where, you know, you saying how odd a person he is, and that there's that scene where he's in his house, I think, and they show this like waxwork that looks nothing like, it's meant to be Nicolas Cage, but it's like really bad. It's like that you see on the internet, and he's like, "That's horrible." He's like, "I'll give you $20,000 for it," or whatever.
He's like, "How much did it cost?" He's like, Pedro Pascal's like, $5,000. He goes, "I'll give you 20,000 for it right now."
See, that sounds like something Nicolas Cage would do.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, you're going to watch it anyway. Just from my perspective, from a comedy perspective, it didn't hit the heights I thought it was going to get to. It wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. And they definitely used that second trailer, I think, to edit that to get the best out of the comedy beats. I just, again, you know, as a film fan, you've got to see it. As a Nicolas Cage fan, it's unmissable. But let us know what you think. So, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent gets a Movie Mouth podcast recommendation. And that's not all, because Nic Cage ain't done, ladies and children. Ladies and children? Hello, ladies and children. Ladies and children on the lifeboats first.
Don't forget the gentleman. Ladies and children.
I don't know.
Remember number 5.
I think all these Nic Cage movies have just frazzled my brain, to be honest.
I think they have.
It's been too much. Anyway, Phil, speaking of Nic Cage, a little bit out of breath. It's time for this! Well, for our new listeners, Video Store Corner is our classic film discussion section where we like to rent a movie from the video store era and sit down to watch it, just like back in the old days. And then we discuss it in spoiler-filled detail. We release our Video Store Corner picks each week on our Instagram account to give you a little time to watch it with us in anticipation of each episode. So head on over to Instagram and search for @MovieMouthPodcast and hit follow to be alerted when we're announcing the next Video Store Corner movie. And what we also do is we enable our listeners to now vote on a choice that both Phil and I pick each week that we run the podcast. And when we allow you to vote on which one you would like us to watch, it just stops us from fighting, doesn't it, Phil?
Yeah, generally.
The lawyers basically asked us in the divorce, didn't they? They said, you know, obviously to split the alimony fairly, get the listeners to vote on the Video Store Corner.
You can't have a majority vote.
Yeah, and Phil gets the kids at weekends, and I get them during the week doing the school run, don't I?
Yeah, that's it. And what was it between this week, Miles?
Well, this week it was between Joel Schumacher's 8mm, and also starring Nic Cage, and Brian De Palma's Snake Eyes, and with a vote of 42% to 58% in the favor of the latter, of course, Snake Eyes was slightly more popular, which is kind of a shame because I don't think I've seen 8mm. Have you, Phil?
No, I don't think I have.
We've both seen Snake Eyes.
Yeah, but a long time ago, to be fair.
Yeah.
because this came out in when 98, wasn't it? 1998.
What a year.
What a year. Can't name anything else that came out that year. Oh, yes, I can. Saving Private Ryan came out that year.
What a film.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies and children, is a fucking film.
And that, ladies and children, is a fucking film. Phil, could you do me a favor? Can you roll the dice and tell us what Snake Eyes is about, please?
Well, I mean, can anyone tell you what Snake Eyes is about?
He's pausing while he tries to find IMDb.
No, I'm not. I'm getting my notes back up. I just tried to. Anyway, right. So the plot. Detective Rick Santoro, Nicolas Cage, has never played by the rules. When he attends a high-profile boxing match with his friend Navy Commander Kevin Dunn, played by Gary Sinise, as well as Defense Secretary Kirkland, played by Joel Fabiani, he witnesses a terrorist assassinate Kirkland. Despite a lockdown on the arena, key witness Julia Costello, played by Carla Gugino, escape. She escapes, and Santoro begins to suspect Kirkland's death is part of a much larger conspiracy that involves boxing rivals and a beautiful stranger.
Oh, beautiful stranger.
Yeah, but that maybe wasn't clear. Basically, he goes to a boxing match, and loads of shit happens, and someone dies.
I would say that's the perfect way of summing it up. They should have just put that on the back of the DVD or the video.
They should have
in the day
videotape.
I would say for the first, say, 10 minutes of this movie, I wasn't fully aware that Nic Cage was actually a policeman because I thought he was just some schmoozing
like a
pimp, yeah, in a snakeskin
gold
jacket.
mobile phone in like a gold jacket and a yellow and bronze Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, with the absolute all the buttons done down to his
all
navel,
the buttons
basically.
Done. His hairy chest protruding from the neckline.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a pimp basically.
And he's hanging out with his best friend, who is a naval officer, who's dressed as a naval officer. They're both from the same part of Atlantic City, apparently, and he's got him front row tickets to the fight. It's so weird. It's such a weird. Oh, he's all these cool things, but he's also a cop, And at no point in this film, I don't think did I ever feel like Nic Cage was actually a cop.
Only when he got serious, when he realizes that shit's going down, he goes pretty coppy. Then he's like straight, yeah, all right,
yeah. Well, okay. When the gunshots ring out and blah blah blah, but really he's most interested in getting his $10,000 back that he lost on the fight. He's not really interested in finding out who killed who in this. Not really.
Yeah.
It's really Gary Sinise who is running around trying to solve the crime, which we later find out, shock horror, he's the one behind it all. He is the mastermind.
You spoiler.
But Jesus Christ. It was so obvious from the beginning of this film that Gary Sinise is behind it all.
He plays that really like dodgy, like
he's got really shifty eyes, hasn't he? He's got really shifty eyes. Yeah.
Where is Gary Sinise now? What's he doing?
I think he's suffering from ME, actually. I think he's been,
is he?
Yeah, I think he's been quite ill. Yeah, these last few years.
Oh, no.
He may have officially retired or formally retired. But obviously, those who would know him as probably his most well-known role would be in Forrest Gump, wouldn't it? As
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan. You got magic legs. I know that, Gump. I know that, dummy. But yeah, no, I think he's kind of limited in his roles of.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think he has been in a few TV series and things like that over the last few years. But
that's a shame because he does play an arsehole pretty well in this.
He does.
A bad guy. He plays a good bad guy.
He does play a good
naval commander bad guy.
Yeah, he's a good surly guy, isn't he? He's a good grumpy person.
Oh yeah.
He
always when he speaks, he always sounds like he's got his teeth shut together. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He always
Yeah.
sounds like he's got his mouth clamped shut.
Wired.
Yeah. I like him.
Generation.
But yeah, do you know what though? Because this is directed by Brian De Palma, right? Who we know from Scarface, The Untouchables, Carlito's Way, etc.
Classics.
Classics, absolute classics. He's a
Yeah.
giant among directors, right?
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the first, because there's a basically the first 20 minutes of this film are that I don't think it is fully, but they lead you to believe that it's one continuous shot. And I love that. I love it when they do continuous shots in films.
Mm.
I love the thinking about the setup of it and people
Mhm.
having to hit just from the practicality point of view. Like I get sort of, I guess, weirdly taken out of it a bit because I'm always thinking, oh, I wonder how they did that, like with everyone hitting their marks, and is there someone in the
Yeah.
background sort of waving at people to start the next part while they're panning the camera around and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that about it, and I think I really enjoy it. So yeah, the first 20 minutes of this film is basically following, you meet Cage and they're going into the arena for the boxing match, and the fighters are coming out, and it pans to the fighters sort of walking out, and it pans back to them, and they're sort of greeting each other, and he's greeting different people, and he's chasing down like a criminal and and doing lots of stuff. There's a lot happens in the first 20
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
But I just love the way it's done. And I love the fact that later in the film, not that much later, but because it turns into basically what is a sort of noir, detective film. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? In the way that he sits down with people and then there's flashbacks as to what happened, but in a very noir sort of way.
Yes.
And I love the fact that those scenes are also filmed from their point of view, and it relates back to that opening 20 minutes.
There's first person shots, aren't there? Where there are
it's
first
brilliant.
person shots
I
with the
love it.
boxer, for example.
Yeah. And you see the glove, he pushes the door open and the glove's on the door and stuff.
Technically, it's a very groundbreaking, to some extent, movie. And I think you're right. That opening sequence, that single shot. I think there was something like 12 different seamless edits in that cut,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Because I was watching it and I was like, I've seen a lot of films, that have this. 1917, Children of Men is
Children of
another
Men's
one. It's funny.
famous one, yeah.
It's so, Birdman. It's so funny because I watched an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia last night, which does this single shot for the episode, and it does it brilliantly. But in all of those modern movies, I've been able to spot some of, if not a lot of, the edits where they're cutting it.
Yeah.
When that camera is following someone and it kind of pans to a wall or a door and then it cuts back and you see it kind of swivels back, and that's where they put the edit. But in this, I couldn't tell at all for that opening single shot, that one take. It was like following him. Like you say, it follows him into the boxer's room. It follows him from the TV studio down into the belly of the arena, then out into the crowd. And there's 14,000 people or whatever it is, all there cheering. And he's on the phone and he sits down in the boxing. It's so good. It's so well done. It's shocking to me that this film isn't that well liked.
Yeah.
It's 6.1 on IMDb right now out of 80,000 reviews.
Right.
I think it's a lot better than that. I think it's
I do.
like you said, I think it's a decent film.
Yeah. There's so many 90s films like this, sort of hunting down a terrorist or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like The Rock, you know what I mean? It's like a military personnel person that's pissed off with the authority.
Yeah.
And because basically the story is that there's a missile launch system that's been tested. And it's like a better defense system than the US Navy has currently got.
Mhm.
And it's been tested, but they're lying and saying it was tested and it was amazing and it was meant to be really good and they want to implement it.
Mhm.
But the Carla Gugino's character plays the sort of one of the scientists, I think, that works
Kind
for
of
the company that's doing,
fatale, isn't she?
yeah, she's doing the testing, and she's trying to break it to the who's he, like the governor or whatever.
Something, isn't
he? Yeah, the governor that's there that it's wrong. It's like the tests weren't
congressman,
as
isn't it? It's a
successful.
congressman.
It's a congressman, that's it, yeah. And she's trying to break that news to him as they kill him, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they're trying to hush it all up because they want it implemented. There's a lot of money behind it. There's a businessman played by what's his name? It's Macaulay Culkin's dad in Home Alone.
Yeah, John Head.
Hurd. Yeah, John Hurd.
John Hurd. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Who didn't he die last year? I think
He died. Yeah, a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of silly stuff in this. There's a lot of like, you know,
You got snake eyes.
yeah, like that whole scene just drags on a little bit, like too long. So there's a scene in it when Nicolas Cage finally realizes that Gary Sinise's character is the bad guy, and he gets the shit beaten out of him basically, quite brutally, and
brutally.
And then Sinise puts like a tracking device on him to try and find where he's hidden. Carla.
They should have told him all he needed was find my iPhone. Could have just done.
Right. No,
shared his location on WhatsApp.
Yeah, right. Sorted. Job done.
But yeah, he's kind of stumbling around the arena, isn't he? Like, beaten
and that's
to a
dragged
pulp.
out a little bit.
Good lord, it was like painful watching it, wasn't it?
And he's like, I was like limping along the corridor.
Like no one that's ever been in a fight ever before. It's like he's been shot with like 50 bullets.
Yeah,
but he's actually just been beaten up, and he's walking around spitting blood. Like,
to be fair though, if you'd have been beaten up by an actual boxer, you might have been the same.
It's serious internal injuries, internal organs.
But yeah, I think I said to you, like, after we'd watched it, I'm finding it a bit hard to take the piss out of it because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
this was no Lawnmower Man, which we featured in the last episode,
which was fucking agony watching.
Yeah,
to be
right.
honest.
This wasn't. I really got into this, and I was like, "Oh, this is like really silly," but I also love some of the things about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was great. I mean,
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's bizarre when you think about. Let's just look at the two films that De Palma directed directly before this. The first one was 93's Carlito's Way. The next one was 96's Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible movie in the Tom Cruise franchise. And then this, and it's crazy that this wasn't as well received. I think perhaps it may be more in part to the fact that that Cage was maybe at this point shaped more into an action star. And this film isn't really an action movie. It's more of a thriller. Which is, a kind of real-time thriller, though, isn't it? It's kind of set in real time, strangely. Yes. A bit like maybe Speed, perhaps the second half of Speed.
Similar. Yeah, because
because you don't. It doesn't really. It doesn't cut away. The camera never leaves this arena until the characters leave the arena, where the film is set in Atlantic City during this massive tropical storm or hurricane, which is kind of ripping the building apart by the end of it as the characters and the plot thickens.
Yeah, I found that a bit odd.
Unhinged. Yes,
but I've got a bit of trivia about that, which will help explain it.
I think I might know, because at the end of this, there's a really weird line that I was like, wait, what? So at the end of this film, Carla Gugino and Nic Cage are on the boardwalk of Atlantic City outside where this development, this arena is supposed to be. And he says the immortal line, "When I was trapped in that tunnel, I thought I was going to drown," or something. And I was like, what? Firstly, what fucking tunnel? And when was he going to drown? He was at no point underwater at any point in this film. He was in a boxing arena, getting beaten up by a boxer.
Well, I'm going to give you the bit of trivia about that then, because it leads lovely into that, right?
Yeah.
So here's a few bits of trivia, but I'll start with that because it links straight in. So the original ending, which was a massive special effects sequence created by Industrial Light and Magic, involved a huge tidal wave going through the casino. Because there's like a casino resort next to the arena. It's all one thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the hotel.
Yeah.
This ending was cut out in post-production, but numerous references to it still remain in the final film. A shot near the end of the film shows an ambulance driving down an oceanside road with a wave about to crash into it before the film cuts to another shot.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage's character, as you said, talks about almost drowning at the very end of the film, and references to a storm are made throughout the entire film, which are all meant to build up to the action-packed climax that was cut out.
It's so weird.
I mean, I think it's absolutely pointless. Like, why did they need some like ultra like epic like disaster? You know, what year did fucking Armageddon come out and Deep
98.
Impact and things like that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Did they need that in there? It's just a bit odd. It's just it's completely out of context.
So I actually beg to differ. Because I think this film is building up to something the whole way, and there is like the buildings coming apart and the story is coming apart and all this kind of stuff. But I think this film is really anticlimactic. Like, I think that let's put this into context. So the bad guy is Gary Sinise, okay? And instead of him getting caught or Nicolas Cage getting his comeuppance on him or whatever, he gets locked out of the arena and he can't get back in. So he blows his brain. He shoots himself in the heart and kills himself.
Yeah.
And he just drops down dead.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then it moves on. And we see throughout the whole film, we see Ricky Santoro, Nic Cage saying, "I'm going to be mayor of this town someday." You know, throughout the whole film, he's just constantly saying, you know, it's good for my career. It's good for my career. I gotta become the mayor. And like all this kind of thing. And so after the movie ends, or after the main plot ends, we then see these kind of news clippings, newsreels of him kind of running for getting the award, like a policeman getting the award, bravery
award,
and all this kind of thing for apparently stopping Gary Sinise, which I don't think he actually does. Other than, you know, saving the woman, I guess. But then we see him jumping into a Corvette and someone asking him about cocaine. Tell us about the cocaine, Ricky, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we see him being taken to court for defrauding the mayoral race or something. Yeah. And by the end of it, he's going to prison. He's going to prison. He's going to prison.
Listeners, in the space of about 30 seconds.
Yes.
Like this whole summary of him getting a bravery award to being in prison.
Yeah. You basically, by the end of it, he's basically contemplating his life by the end of it, I think. His best friend just killed himself. He's lost all his money, his house, probably his child that apparently he has, his son Michael, that we never really see. We only see very briefly. And he has an ex-wife. He has a girlfriend, so he's obviously lost both of them. He's being indicted for fraud, and he's going to prison for 12 to 18 months. Now, you tell me a movie where the hero, at the end of it, that you follow through the whole thing, loses all his money, gets indicted, loses his marriage, his girlfriend, his relationship with his child, and has to go to prison for 12 to 18 months.
Or Con Air.
But he was already in prison. He was already a prisoner. He was already a prisoner. This is a cop. You know,
it's like Con Air crossed with The Rock.
Oh, imagine that. But then it's really weird. So that happens, and then Carla Gugino, for no apparent reason, kisses him. Even though they didn't have any kind of romantic, you know, connotations throughout the movie whatsoever.
Nope.
And then the camera just slowly pans to the building site behind them with all these builders.
The builders do stuff for like 10 minutes while the credits roll.
Yes.
Very odd end.
Maybe now you're thinking about it.
Now
it's a really weird
slightly
end.
let down.
So I kind of think a giant tidal wave ripping the arena apart and, you know, him nearly drowning in a tunnel sounds like fun to me.
Absolute mayhem. I'll give you a couple more bits of trivia about it. So, as we've said, the opening 20-minute Steadicam sequence is not really one continuous shot. There are numerous hidden edits, but at least 12 minutes of the sequence was run in one take. So that's still very impressive. 12 minutes as a take in that sort of like, you know, that's not just like two people on screen. That's like thousands of people on screen.
Phenomenal.
Pretty cool. This is Yeah. So Gary Sinise plays Naval Commander Kevin Dunn, who is attempting to get the Navy to pick up a new weapon system. Actor Kevin Dunn, who plays the PPV announcer, like the news guy at the arena, was in the movie Hot Shots in 1991, playing a naval commander attempting to get the Navy to pick up a new superfighter.
I thought that was really weird that there was a Kevin Dunn actor and Kevin Dunn character.
Why
in this,
they
and they were
called
played by
Gary
different people.
Sinise's character Kevin Dunn when Kevin Dunn, the actor, playing someone called Lou Logan, was in it? Yeah. So,
I
well,
mean,
here we go.
Yeah, I probably would have had in the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent stakes, Nic Cage playing Nic Cage, and he's just
Yeah.
Nic Cage at a boxing fight, and he happens to be next to Commander Gary Sinise, who's there, and then you have Kevin McAllister's dad, Peter McAllister, who apparently all along was a corrupt politician, and that's why he's got such a big house in Home Alone.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Dunn playing himself, Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn. Well, according to actual Kevin Dunn, the fact that Gary Sinise's character was named Kevin Dunn caused confusion between the two actors. According to Dunn, much to his surprise, he was given a penthouse suite in a fancy hotel to stay in during filming. The crew realized that they had accidentally given Sinise's suite to Dunn. Dunn had to leave and stayed at a hotel chain.
Sorry, we got the wrong Kevin Dunn.
Sorry,
we
you're
booked
not
the
actually
hotel.
Kevin.
But who thought? At what point were they like, "Oh, we accidentally booked the hotel room under the character's name, Kevin Dunn, and not under the actor's name, Kevin Dunn." So the actor
Yeah.
Kevin Dunn ends up staying in the hotel room.
Yeah.
What
I
the
don't know.
hell?
I don't
Why
know.
would you book a? It doesn't make any sense, but that is insane.
Here's something that's also a bit odd. The role of Commander Kevin Dunn was originally written for and offered to Will Smith.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
I can't see that at all. I feel like it would
No.
need a substantial rewrite to fit Will Smith. I can't imagine Will
Yeah.
Smith wanting to play a bad guy at that point in his career as well. Like
No, he was doing all
Men
of
in
the
Black.
Well, Men in Black was like that time, wasn't it? Was that like 98, wasn't it? Yeah.
97.
So, I don't know.
Black, wasn't it?
Yeah, 97. And then last bit. Snake Eyes was the last Brian De Palma film for which Steven Spielberg viewed the rough cut.
Mm.
Yeah, apparently he viewed all the rough cuts of Brian De Palma films. I don't know why it was the last one, but
He was like, "That's it, Brian. No more."
yeah, you
had me at.
Maybe it's because he took out the ILM super scene
Maybe.
at the end.
Maybe.
It's
Yeah.
like, fuck you, Brian De Palma.
Yeah. Good Lord.
So what? Yeah, But you know, listeners, I'd watch it if you haven't seen it. You might have done. You probably have. But go and watch it again. It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and the majority of Nic Cage's dialogue in this is him saying his character's name. Like,
Yeah.
All he does, from I think the very first scene is, for no apparent reason, looks right down the camera and goes, "I'm Rick Santoro. That's right. I'm Ricky." It's just like,
it's
and then like
it's
you
just
see him at the
Nicolas
end, he's
Cage
getting
all over it.
arrested or something there, and he's like, "Hey, come on, guys, it's Ricky. It's Ricky." It's like, who gives a fuck who you are, dude?
No, yeah, well, who gives a fuck who you are?
There was a good scene as well where Gary Sinise is kind of confiding in him as his friend, saying, "You know, I was looking at this beautiful woman. I was looking at her tits or something, and I shouldn't have been looking at her tits. And the shooter killed the congressman." And then Nic Cage just looks at him and he goes, "But didn't you see? That was the plan, to give you a boner. Congratulations, you got one."
I forgot about that line. Yeah, that was good. That made me laugh.
In what world? But I'd say there's something interesting about this. This was written by, or was part written by Brian De Palma, but it was also written by David Koepp, who wrote Jurassic Park, or adapted Jurassic Park from Michael Crichton. So I wonder whether that was the Steven Spielberg connection in there. But no talk about boners in Jurassic Park, as far as I can recall.
No.
But, you know, at the end of the day, life finds a way, doesn't it, Phil?
Yeah. Well, there we are. Snake Eyes. 98,
Snake Eyes.
Nicolas Cage. Go and watch it.
Loved it, to be honest.
It's available on Disney Plus, if you wanted to know.
And in America, it's available on Showtime.
Showtime.
It's Showtime, see? Also, not to be confused with the latest GI Joe spin-off movie, Snake Eyes, The Rise of Cobra, or whatever it's called. This is just Snake Eyes. So
Snake Eyes from 1993, featuring Harvey Keitel and Madonna.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So if you get halfway through either of those movies and you haven't seen Nic Cage screaming, "I'm Ricky fucking Santoro" for 45 minutes, then you're probably watching the wrong film.
Yeah.
Or Gary Sinise talking about his boner.
No, Nicolas Cage talking about Gary Sinise's boner.
That's true. No,
Yeah.
that's what I call a movie. Well, I think we both loved it, didn't we? So go watch
Yes.
Snake Eyes. You know where to find it. And join us on the next Movie Mouth podcast slice of movie and TV related podcast fun. But before then, please follow our Facebook and Instagram accounts at Movie Mouth Podcast and hit subscribe or give us a nice 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. Phil,
Yes.
there's just one last thing to say, isn't there, darling?
Is it?
Go on. Oh, God, aren't you ready for this? You're usually ready for this, aren't you? Just say it.
Hello.
You say hello while I say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, darling. I'm Rick fucking Santoro.